So if a child is a little bit aggressive, parents or caregiver may not cuddle too much. Researchers wanted to know a child कब depth perception या sense of depth कब develop करता है. 80 to 90% advertisement is or manipulating sex and aggression. One of my friend, he is in Argentina, and he is trying to basically teach students just by thinking.
So hello everyone, welcome to this episode of Bet Haq, and in today's episode of Bet Haq, we have with us Professor Azizuddin Khan, a professor of psychology at the Humanities Department of IIT Bombay. And today we are going to discuss different topics such as memory क्या होती है, and different theories of Sigmund Freud, what is child psychology, etc, etc, etc. So yeah, let's start.
So sir, my first question to you is कि जो हमारी मेमोरी है वो काम कैसे करती है, like how does our memory work?
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So let me explain about memories and how memory works. So memory को बताने से पहले मैं ये बताना चाहूँगा कि जो इंफॉर्मेशन हमें मिलती है फ्रॉम आउटसाइड, वो किस फॉर्म में हमारे ब्रेन में स्टोर होती है. So far there are two ways, like two kinds of debate कि ये पिक्टोरियल फॉर्म में होती है, पिक्चर के फॉर्म में होती है, या प्रोपोजिशन के फॉर्म में होती है. काइंड ऑफ लाइक यू मस्ट हैव हर्ड अबाउट this neural network model that there are nodes for each kind of information, and then if connection is established between two nodes, so that two kinds of information gets connected, and whenever there is a one activation at one node, simultaneously there will be activation in the another node.
Yeah.
But अभी तक ये नहीं, फॉर श्योर ये नहीं एस्टेब्लिश हो पाया है कि ये पिक्टोरियल फॉर्म में है या प्रोपोजिशनल फॉर्म में होता है. देयर आर 3 स्टेजेस ऑफ मेमोरी. 3 स्टेज में हम मेमोरी को डिवाइड कर सकते हैं कि जब हम कोई नई इंफॉर्मेशन रिसीव होती है तो वो हमारा ब्रेन उसको रिसीव करके ट्राई करता है उसको इनकोड करना in somewhere in the brain, depending on the kind of information. कि अगर हमें विजुअल इंफॉर्मेशन मिला है और स्मेल से रिलेटेड इंफॉर्मेशन कुछ है या टच से इंफॉर्मेशन है कुछ, so there are different areas of the brain which are responsible for the encoding of each kind of information. Basically there are 5 sensory systems. So information will come from these 5 sensory receptors. But this is not the final story, because it is not that कि हम इंफॉर्मेशन रिसीव करते हैं सिंपली विजुअल में और या ऑडिटरी में या हैप्टिक में, स्मेल में. इट्स अ काइंड ऑफ इंटीग्रेशन समवेयर इन द ब्रेन. ऑल दीज इंफॉर्मेशन गेट इंटीग्रेटेड. तो अगर हम क्या होता है कि जैसे कोई अच्छा मेलोडी सॉन्ग सुन रहे हैं जो हमने 10 इयर्स बैक सुना है, 5 इयर्स बैक सुना है, तब अगर वो मेमोरी एक्टिवेट होती है तो उसके साथ हम क्या कर रहे थे, क्या स्मेल थी, क्या फीलिंग थी, दैट आल्सो गेट्स एक्टिवेटेड. कि अगर उस टाइम पे हम एक स्पेसिफिक मूड में थे तो वो उसी तरह की मेमोरी एक्टिवेट होती है. और इस फिनोमेना को बेसिकली कहते हैं प्राइमिंग, और you can say priming, that one specific information activates corresponding information.
Yeah.
So that is the encoding is the first stage in that way. Then there is a storage. तो जो इंफॉर्मेशन हमें विजुअल आ रही है या ऑडिटरी आ रही है उसको हम एज इट इज नहीं अलग हमारा ब्रेन ऐसे स्टोर इनकोड नहीं कर पाता है, उसको मॉडिफाई करता है और उसमें बेसिकली some information gets labeled, other sharpening may happen. When I am saying leveling and sharpening, कि अगर कोई इंफॉर्मेशन आपका फ्रेंड कुछ दे रहा है, जब आप वही इंफॉर्मेशन किसी दूसरे को नरेट करना चाहते हैं तो कुछ चीजें छूट जाती हैं और कुछ पे ज्यादा आपका फोकस रहता है. तो मेमोरी ऐसे नहीं है फोटोग्राफिक स्टोरेज. Depending on the personality, depending on the mood, depending on your lifestyle, we modify incoming information from the environment. So there is an active interaction between factual information or information from outside and individual's personality. दैट इज द रीजन कि अगर हम क्लास में हैं, सेम इंफॉर्मेशन हमें मिल रही है या हम सेम बुक पढ़ें, कोई नॉवेल पढ़ें या कुछ भी पढ़ें, बट अगर दो इंडिविजुअल पढ़ रहे हैं सेम नॉवेल को, तो उनका इनकोडिंग, स्टोरेज एंड रिट्रीवल ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन और एवं इंटरप्रिटेशन ऑफ द इंफॉर्मेशन वेरी करेगा, क्योंकि पर्सनालिटी का रोल उसमें अहम हो जाता है, आपका मेंटल स्टेट का रोल अहम हो जाता है। और ये भी देखा गया है कि अगर जिस क्लास में आप क्लास अटेंड किए हैं, जिस रूम में आप क्लास अटेंड किए हैं, अगर उसी रूम में एग्जाम होता है, तो उसमें देखा गया है कि आप बेटर परफॉर्म करेंगे एज कंपेयर टू डिफरेंट रूम, क्योंकि इट इज कॉल्ड कॉन्टेक्स्ट डिपेंडेंट मेमोरी। आप उसमें फेमिलराइज रहे हैं, आप जो भी आप जब उस एक स्पेसिफिक इंफॉर्मेशन आप टीचर ने दिया आपको, वो बेसिकली एलेबोरेट होता है इंफॉर्मेशन, इसको कहते हैं एलेबोरेटिव रिहर्सल, कि अरे जब ये बात बताई गई थी तो मैं तो इस चीज में इन्वॉल्व था, मैं किसी से बात कर रहा था बट सडनली आई रिसीव्ड दिस इंफॉर्मेशन, तो मेमोरी बेटर होगी। तो स्टोरेज फिर वो मेमोरी में स्टोर होती है डिपेंडिंग ऑन द काइंड ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन यू रिसीव और आपकी पर्सनालिटी और आप मेंटल स्टेट, आपका मूड, देन it remains over there for a longer duration or for a, like say X time. Whenever there is a need to retrieve that information, that stage is called retrieval. So there is a encoding, storage and retrieval. Memory failure may happen at each stage. अगर हम बहुत अटेंशन नहीं पे कर रहे थे जब हमें इंफॉर्मेशन मिल रही थी, you were distracted, in that case encoding will not be accurate, and as a result, even though there is a good storage, better recall or retrieval, since information is not there or it is not well integrated in the system, you may not be able to recall the information or retrieve the information.
सर, जो आपने प्राइमिंग वाली बात करी थी, यू टॉक्ड अबाउट प्राइमिंग, सो like what external factors when you see that, so we don't take it consciously, right? For example, when I'm sitting in this room and listening to you, I'm not consciously listening to the maybe sound of the fan or something, but still it is helping in my memory, right? So what decides कि हम कौन से factors ले रहे हैं और वो किस memory के part से link कर रही है जो हमें आगे जाके help होगी याद करने में?
Okay, so most of the time we are mostly process information subconscious level or sub threshold level, means below the awareness. Like as you mentioned that you are sitting right now, you may not be aware about the temperature, about the lighting, about some sound from outside, but still your brain processes the information even without you being aware about the information you are receiving. They may facilitate memory, and they may also basically hamper the or hinder the memory storage or even recall. So it depends on like your mental state of this moment in time. If you are interested whatever I am narrating over here, then your focus of attention is on my talk or whatever information I'm doing, then rest of the thing may facilitate your memory. But if you are not interested to listen me, then your mind will wander, like your attention will be distracted. And you may pay attention that okay, maybe if there is a like slight sound or temperature or anything, you may get distracted.
Okay.
So about this sub-threshold level or information processing in our day-to-day life, like around like some people, some researchers are of the view that around 60 to 70% we process information subconscious level or sub-threshold level. But our brain is active,
Mhm.
and it has been, even I have conducted research. This is called, like, by using EEG, we know that even like what I did, that I showed some movie, silent movie, to children, and
Mm.
simultaneously I was playing a sound which was not related to this movie,
Okay.
or even children playing game. So they become so engrossed that they were not registering any sound which I was playing. But when I analyzed the EEG data, it was observed that the brain was encoding each and every sound.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So it is not that even if you are not aware that what is going around yourself, your brain is quite active and processing the information.
Yeah.
So, as a human being, just like that, there is a limited energy. Energy cannot be destroyed, or some like that kind of concept. Similarly, human being has a limited cognitive resource, and in that human being has to allocate that cognitive resource depending on the requirement. But it is that is why, like, so far people have like kind of understanding that multitasking is good, but recent studies are showing that this is not the case, because
Mhm.
anyway you are distributing same, like, say, because this cognitive resource is limited, you are distributing in different tasks. So it has been observed that the information processing is not that accurate when you are
Mm.
involved in multitasking.
Yeah.
And all the time, like, apart from that, we have limited cognitive resource. We are cognitive miser as well. So whenever we feel that okay, this information is not important, our brain automatically tries not to process that information wherever
Okay.
you are. Yeah, and that is the reason our decision is optimal, not rational. We are not
Yeah.
rational human being. We
Yeah.
are simply, like, say, our rationality is bounded, because depending on the information you are considering or basically receiving. Even if you want to buy a simple pen, you don't have all the information about that pen, means about its material, its quality and other thing. What you are going to do, how you decide that whether you should buy this Colgate or this pen or some other object, based on limited information. And since you
Mm.
are making limited information, it cannot be rational decision. It will be optimal
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah. Also, in addition to this, there is this concept of false memory as well, right? That,
Yeah, I'll come to that. I'll come to that
yeah,
when we may talk about this eyewitness testimony.
Yeah. So yeah.
yeah, I
So
guess that's the
yeah,
follow-up.
let's just continue that only, sir. So yeah, continuing to that only. So I watched this movie called Rashomon, and it was somewhere in the 1950s. So I guess you know about the Rashomon effect as well, sir. So it was more or less based on the memory biases in eyewitness testimony only. So I just wanted to know that what memory biases do we observe in eyewitness testimony?
Okay, so there, even in our day-to-day life, there are biases in memory. Uh,
Yeah,
that is why in the beginning I mentioned that it is not a photographic recording of the incoming information.
yeah,
So depending on your mental state, current state, when you are observing or when you are receiving the information, one of the let's say bias is like weapon effect. So at the time of incident or crime, if there is a weapon present in the room or in that particular place, our attention is focused toward that weapon. Then, in that case,
Mm.
even you were present during the scene, you may not be able to process all the information crime. You may not be able to even recognize face of the perpetrators because your focus of attention or your attention was focused towards the weapon. Even if it is not threatening situation, if weapon is there, your the attention will shift towards that particular weapon. Even if you are in a non-threatening situation. So there is another factual information or basically well-researched topic that there is no relationship between accuracy of memory and confidence. Like people say, I am confident, I am quite confident, I have seen this thing happen. But as such, there is no relationship between confidence and memory accuracy. Because at the first place, while encoding the information, you were not very well focused towards the information, and that is why, even though you are saying that you are quite confident about the scene or crime scene, you may not be able to recognize even the person who committed the crime. Yeah, so what I was saying that there are two kind of factors in this eyewitness testimony problem or misrecognition basically. One is that personality related, the other one is situation related, like dim light, or if you are you are observing crime from a distance. These are the situational factors. The other are personality factors. Whether you were under stress or whether you were anxious at the time, or whether you were in a specific mood, that will decide whether you will be able to accurately record the crime scene or information about crime scene or not.
Got it. So I guess moving on to the next question, sir. Talking about Freud, basically whenever anyone talks about psychology, the main, maybe the very popular person that pops out is Sigmund Freud. Now, like, what are your opinions on him? Like, how do you view him? Like, how does mainstream psychology look up to him about his research and ideas?
Okay, so so as you mentioned that whenever we talk about psychology, Sigmund Freud comes first in the mind. That is still true. As far as his studies, whether it is dream interpretation of dream, or personality structure or personality development, he was quite accurate in terms of saying that there are three components of personality, like ego and superego. And still it's quite violent. He was considered as first cognitive psychologist, like looking at the brain, like say information processing model of human behavior. He is considered as first cognitive psychologist. The problem with this, with the Sigmund Freud theory is that neither you can prove it nor you can disprove it. But still, if you go to Eastern European countries, Sigmund Freud is still the psychologist. Like still they teach about that Sigmund Freudian theories, whether it is about personality or psychosexual development or say dream interpretation.
So also, what are your views on the psychosexual development theories that he has proposed? You being one of those people who have researched about development psychology, so
yes,
what do you think about those? Because it's very weird when we first read about it.
As already mentioned that it is he propounded, but intuitively it looks like that he was quite great while saying that okay, there is a Oedipus complex or Electra complex, or
Yeah.
the division of kind of like developmental stages from that oral stage to like phallic stage or genital stage. But the problem with this his theory is that he doesn't talk about development after fifth stage. That is, as soon as child attains adolescence,
Hmm.
it looks like that. Okay, development is complete. That is not basically true. The new researchers, they are they have proved that there is a brain plasticity and development happens throughout the life. It
Yeah.
is not. It doesn't stop at adolescent stage. But his opinion or his research basically when it comes to dividing developmental stages, uh, I think he was quite correct.
Oh, okay.
There is another problem with this his theory that he was quite deterministic. Deterministic in the sense he was of the view that biological factor determines human personality. That
Hmm.
is not actually complete truth, because uh, environment plays very significant role. Even
Yeah.
the way parents behave towards a child. So temperament, there is something called temperament. Every child is born with a specific kind of temperament. Some infants are quite aggressive from the very beginning. Some are quite docile from the very beginning. Others are they may show different kind of temperament. But this temperament is not final, because like say as a interaction of infant with parents determines personality. It is not just uh, that biological factor. So if a child is a little bit aggressive, parents or caregiver may not cuddle too much to that infant. But
Hmm.
if an infant is quite approachable to caregiver or any other person, people may like him more, so they may play more. And during this process, like both are changing behavior. Like say, personality is basically shaped by this kind of interaction as well. It is not just biological factor, in this case temperament.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you can say that whatever Freud propounded, it is just a half truth. It is not a complete
Hmm.
truth.
Yes.
Our next question was on that line only, sir. To what extent do certain incidents in our childhood shape our future or shape the personality of a child?
Okay, so actually, 50% answer I have already given that
Yeah.
no matter what kind of personality uh, a particular infant is having at the time of birth or
Yeah.
after 6 months or after 1 year, it is the interaction of environment. So if
Hmm.
somebody is having very like even not only just forget about the total environment in totality, you can take that parenting style, like parents, how parents are approaching to their infants will determine what kind of personality they will attain or they will develop into.
Hmm.
There are different kinds of parenting style. कि अथॉरिटियन टाइप की पर्सनालिटी होती है, अथॉरिटेटिव होती है, परमिसिव होती है, डेमोक्रेटिक स्टाइल होती है. तो डिपेंड इफ सम if parents are authoritative, then that personality will be quite different. Some infant may become quite submissive. He may not
Hmm.
develop or she may not develop her full potential, because the parents are oppressive. They may not know. they are doing injustice to their children. But still, parents may unknowingly uh, may shape a different kind of personality. So it is
Yeah.
basically interaction of both that biological factor as well as environmental factor. When I'm saying environmental factors, parents, caregiver, friends, uh, like whole lot of agents uh,
Hmm.
will contribute towards development of a specific kind of personality.
So, could you give us any examples of any psychological experiments that maybe that has, that is related to the child psychology?
I can like say narrate several experiments, but let's हम लोग लेते हैं कि डेप्थ परसेप्शन कब डेवलप होता है, द सेंस ऑफ
Hmm.
डेप्थ.
Yeah.
So earlier, even the concept of like volume or addition, subtraction. So each kind of these skills are not like child can or child will be able to attain it immediately. There are a specific time. So maturation and development, there are two things. Maturation is a biological unfolding of uh, that inherent forces, but development includes other factors like external factors as well. So researchers wanted to know a child कब depth perception या sense of depth कब develop करता है.
Hmm.
तो earlier researcher का opinion था कि भाई 7 to 8 years में months में, sorry, 7 to 8 months में develop होता है. But there were two psychologists, Gibson and Walk. What they did कि दो प्लेटफॉर्म लिए, एक ग्लास का था, दूसरा उसी कलर का था जो ग्लास में नहीं था, सॉलिड प्लेटफॉर्म था.
अच्छा.
और उस ग्लास पे बच्चे को ऐसे रख दिया गया. लेकिन ऐसा नहीं था कि वो बच्चा गिर जाता क्योंकि ग्लास है. लेकिन when child was placed near the edge of the child's heart started beating faster. At the time it happened between 3 to 4 months. But if you do before 3 months, child doesn't care, because until then child has not developed the concept of death. Similarly, development of object permanence. When child develops the concept that even if I am not able to perceive a specific object in front of me, it still exists. So it develops between 1 to 2 months. Before that, like even sometimes it has been observed that it is there even up to later stage, like say 4 to 5 months as well. Like it varies between infants. So like this is the water bottle and or a ball. If a child is playing the game, or that child is playing with that ball, but if you hide that before 2 months, child won't he will not care about that. As soon as you hide that ball, for him or her, that ball doesn't exist anymore. But if you do it like a child who is like 3 months old or 4 months old or 5 months old, the child will try to search where is my ball.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So maybe that's why things like peekaboo and all these like startle children.
Exactly. It is for psychological development, psychobiological development of infant. So game and game plays very significant role in the development of a child personality.
Yeah.
And when does the child starts to discover
there
the
are
sexuality? Like, are there studies on that as well?
See, as yes. Not only the child, but there are studies about this adult sexuality as well.
Hmm.
The first book was written in 1940s and 48 and 50 by Johnson and Johnson. That book is still considered as Bible on, like say, sexual development or like sex psychology, you can say. So. When it comes to that sexuality of the child, as per Sigmund Freud, he was the kind of first person explicitly mentioning that okay, child is not a sexual being.
Hmm.
Or like as per the Sigmund Freud concept of sexuality, it is not just like one specific kind of like sexual union. It is any kind of pleasure one can attain from anywhere that is considered as uh, uh, sexual pleasure.
Hmm.
So, according to him, there are two moving forces of life, as per Sigmund Freud. Uh, Basically, sex and aggression. So
Okay.
even you can see if you observe this advertisement on the in electronic media or any media, uh, 80 to 90% advertisement is are manipulating sex and aggression,
Yeah.
nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as for him, sexuality or means uh, getting or attaining pleasure, whether like it can be just by eating a good, like say your say favorite food or playing your favorite game. He That Sigmund Freud considered this act as well, like as a sexual pleasure as well. So for him, it is like that. And
Hmm.
as per him, this kind of attaining sexual pleasure start just after birth. So from the very
Hmm.
beginning of life. And that is why he mentioned that if you see uh, if a child is female, that child will have more attraction or tries to be with father. If child is let's say male, the male child will be more closer towards uh,
Mother.
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 And he interpreted it as a sexual attraction. And that is why he
Hmm.
mentioned that relationship between boy and father is negative,
Yeah.
or say it is based on kind of envy.
Hmm.
So for as per Sigmund Freud, sexuality starts from the very beginning of life.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Moving on to the last question for today. We know that you have been researching on EEG and event-related
Mhm.
potential. So I read about this. Like, we saw one TED video as well,
Yeah.
where a man he connected some electrodes, and he was moving his hand, and by that he
Mhm.
connected it to some machine, I guess, and the other man's hand was moving. मतलब ये इस हाथ से इसके ब्रेन से किसी और का हाथ मूव हो रहा था involuntarily. And also I read about some stuff called brain machine
Mhm.
interface, जिसमें हम बस सोच के ही किसी मैसेज को कन्वे कर सकते हैं. So what's the future of brain machine interface?
Mhm. Even in my lab at Psychophysiology Laboratory at Bombay,
Mm-hmm.
we try to move that wheelchair just by thinking, and we
Oh.
are
Hmm.
successful. So, like if
Wow.
you think that I have to move forward or backward, so like or left and right, we can do. Now we are going to do. It is for basically those who are having like say problem of walking or uh, handicap, physical handicap patients.
Hmm.
But it is not just basically for the this brain machine interaction. Future is quite bright. Basically, it is going to be the science in your future. Like say, along with this artificial intelligence and data science.
Okay.
One of my
Hmm.
friend, he is in Argentina, and he is trying to basically teach students just by thinking. and he is successful up to 75%. So what he did, he took 12 EEG machine, put it on students, and he wear one EEG machine himself. And then
Yeah.
he was just trying to think whatever he wanted to teach, and he was like the students were able to decode it. So brain machine interaction is nothing. It is just like uh, let's say getting EG signal, analyzing it, and then giving command, not by brain, but not by any other external object, but just by brain. That you are thinking that okay, in this case, that's wheelchair. That you have to simply think that I have to move forward. That it is the other way around. Earlier, like you are taking help from external object and do something. Here you are using brain signal to give command to like say non-living being.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is, now it is like it is going to be the kind of the science in future, and future is here
Yeah.
basically. Yeah.
But then again, it is so difficult because you need to have such a calm mind when you are controlling things with your brain, or if we can imagine something like that. Because maybe we can think anything, right? Like we don't,
Mhm.
like for a person like me, a layman, like I'm not trained in thinking a particular thought at a particular given on time. So if I'm teaching a class of students, random thoughts maybe may originate within me, and maybe they get on passed to the students. So I feel that it is so difficult to reach
No, it
that
is not
stage. Like,
difficult basically. Even when you are actually when you are teaching without this brain machine interface,
yeah.
that thought will come, but you
Hmm.
don't convey them. Similarly, if you decide, if you determine that okay, this much is up to this level, like say, it is it is the information which I want to convey to a student. The rest will be considered as noise.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
not, yeah, it is not that difficult. Yeah, even
Hmm.
when we record this EEG machine, sorry, like say EEG signal, there are a lot of noises. Noise from the computer, noise from
Yeah,
the
yeah.
outside, even if it is soundproof,
Hmm.
noise from the that flow of blood, uh,
Yeah.
your breathing.
Yeah.
uh, these are the noises. But we try to eliminate them
Hmm.
during this post processing of EG signal.
Yeah.
So it is just a matter of that having more sophisticated machine. That is it. But it is nobody is going to stop this area.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Means
Yeah.
there will be no kind of limitation in future.
Great.
Even we are using, like say, we have already, like say, this is now we filed a patent. Like say, we are using, we are bypassing one specific sensory system, like in
Yeah.
reading, for example.
Hmm.
Reading requires two basic sensory systems, that visual and auditory. So I am working on dyslexic children. So what I did, that I just bypass this auditory or sound related information processing. So what
Yeah.
I did, along with the one professor from mechanical engineering, that is Professor Abhishek Gupta. What we did, that instead of using sound, that when you reading is nothing but extracting sound from the written word. So it is
Hmm.
called grapheme phoneme correspondence. So there is a graphic representation, and we have to basically extract sound from that graphic representation.
Yeah.
This dyslexic children, dyslexic children are not able to extract sound from the written word or
Hmm.
graphic representation. So what
Hmm.
we did, instead of using sound, we did touch. So we make, like say, we use motors, and we put in the belt. So if a child has to read apple, the APPLE, there will be a different different kinds of vibration in the belt.
Yeah.
So there will be kind of correspondence between A and a specific kind of that vibration. And we are quite successful in increasing the reading efficiency of dyslexic children. Last year we
Wow.
filed this, not last year, 2019, probably in a few months we will get the patent, hopefully.
Interesting.